Why is English translation bad for you? But more importantly, how to stop translating in your head. Watch this video until the end to find out what you need to do. If you don't know me very well, hello, I'm Teacher Prix and I'm going to help you talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, yes, because every week I bring different kinds of English lessons to help you become a better and more confident English speaker. So consider subscribing. That helps the channel grow. And if you have already done so, I appreciate your liking. Now, guys, translation is bad, okay? But Priscilla, I saw this ex-teacher talking about translation and how it can help. All my respect. The way I see it, based on my experience, more than 16 years, I think almost 20, I believe translation is not healthy for you. But I'm not a hypocrite. Of course, we use a small amount of translation. But if you use translation, every day, all the time, anywhere, anytime, then that's really bad. And that will consequently make you stuck in your mind, in your head, trying to think of the next word. But the next word will come in your language. And that's when you get stuck in a conversation and you lose your confidence because you don't feel ready. You don't feel prepared. You always feel like you need more time. I need more time to form the phrases, to make the sentences, to find the words. That's why translation is bad. And if you want to stop translating in your head, you got to follow the things I'm going to talk to you guys about here on my channel. And guys, all of my lessons here, they basically focus on pre-intermediate and intermediate students. And if at this level you're feeling like, oh my God, Priscilla, I'm constantly translating the phrases in my head, this always happens. This makes me very anxious, very insecure, frustrated because I can't move forward. You will need to eliminate translation, okay? That's why this is not even the focus of this lesson. It's not the focus, but it is essential to include a speaking practice if you want to feel better prepared, if you want to boost your confidence level. I have many lessons here on my channel that talk about that, okay? So if you think in your language, or if you think too slowly when it's time to speak, that means you need more practice. You need more speaking practice. And if, like many thousands and thousands of people who will watch this video will say at this moment, but I don't have anyone, well, this recommendation is especially if you don't have anyone. Speaking is a skill, just like vocabulary, just like listening, just like writing. So you gotta find a way to make it work, to practice in your routine, okay? This is something that I talk to my students from my academy. My academy is an online self-study program. It's not private. The students don't have me like private on a one-on-one. But they learn everything they need to unlock their fluency. We have live lessons, group activities, workshops. They have everything organized in one place for them to study, because I believe fluency is the result of an integrated practice. And in my methodology, they also need to build a solo speaking practice. So what I'm teaching you guys here is what I teach my students in more detail, with more support, more assistance. But it's something that I've done myself, okay? And I always teach my students to do the same. But that being said, why is translation bad, okay? The reason number one, and I was talking to a student from my academy about this. This is a new student, recently joined the program, and she was describing this teacher. I was studying the words before joining the program. I was studying the words, but I didn't really understand the words, And when I saw the words in texts, that's what she said. I studied the words, translated them. But then when I saw the words in the text, in a complete phrase, in an article, reading online, in a blog, or listening to the word, I didn't understand the word. Why? Because you translated. Then I asked this student, okay, you're a new student. Did you translate these words and then you had trouble understanding them in real life? That's when she confirmed yes. So of course now she's changing. It takes time. I'm not saying, oh, a miracle is gonna happen after this video. No, not talking about miracles. I'm talking about process, okay? Which is funny because here there's a book on my table. Miracle. But no, not talking about miracle, okay? Guys, the more advanced vocabulary you learn, the more difficult it'll be to only translate it, okay? Like the more advanced vocabulary you learn, the more difficult it is to only translate. And at this moment, I'm talking hopefully to pre-intermediate and intermediate students. So at this moment, you need to eliminate translation completely. Actually, this is what I teach. And you should focus on explanations. You need to understand concepts. Because in real life, the more advanced conversations you have, the more you're going to be exposed to concepts, abstract ideas, slang, cultural differences. And these are all very difficult things to explain with one word, okay? Like, oh, this is a pencil. This doesn't happen the more advanced you get. So what happens? You come from a very basic setting, a very basic reality. Pencil, translation. Moisturizer, translation. Liquid paper, translation. Very simple, very easy to translate. But now you're getting to an intermediate level, something a little bit more advanced, and it's not so simple anymore to quickly translate ideas, especially because there are so many interesting expressions in the English language. So what is going to happen? You will not know how to use the words because all your practice is revolving around your language. And if you want to be fluent in the English language, well, all your practice needs to revolve around the English language, especially at this level, okay? So your brain will have a very difficult time understanding those words in conversations because those conversations will be in English. But because your practice was in your language, what happens when it's go time, when it's speak time? Well, your brain's like, no, hey, wait a second. I saw this word in my language. Now there's not my language here. I'm lost. I'm confused. So you will go around and around and around trying to find the explanation, but the explanation is in your language. So you get stuck. You freeze because your brain is trying to process that information that you only studied in your language. That's a very complicated situation. It will occur the more you translate. So this is reason number one why translation, in my opinion, is not healthy for you. Now, disclaimer to some people who will come here and say, no, but this is absurd. I'm not saying you will never translate, okay? What I'm saying is it shouldn't be your immediate reaction because what you do in your practice, pay attention, what I do in my practice is a reflection of what I'm going to do in the real world. So if I'm always, I don't know how to say this, translation. I speak a little bit of my language, Portuguese. I'm Brazilian. So I'm practicing my speaking. So I speak a little Portuguese because I don't know the word. So I put a little Portuguese there. You will do the exact same thing in the real world. And people will not understand you. And that consequently will make you feel very insecure, very frustrated, when in reality, you just need to fix your practice, okay? I will talk about things you can do to help you eliminate translation. And as I said, your process needs to change. Do I translate? Sometimes I do, but it is my last resort. And even when I translate, when I couldn't understand and I had to translate, then I picked the word I learned and I couldn't understand in English and then I explain. After I saw the translation, then I go and I explain in English. I find the words to help my brain understand in the English language. So even when I translate, which is rare, then I have to follow this English process to educate my brain that this is English, okay? So that is a very important thing. Now, guys, next reason. Why is translation bad for you? You are conditioning yourself to study based on translation during your study time, and your reaction time will be extremely slow when it's time to speak. I know the two reasons are super connected, but it's important to separate them, okay? If you feel like you're too slow when it's time to speak, and I am not saying, oh, but I speak slowly, so I need to speak fast like a native speaker. No. That's not what I'm saying, okay? You can speak graciously, slowly, with good intonation, no problems. You don't need to speak fast to sound cool. Forget that. That will only make you feel, that will make you look stupid. The opposite, okay? Because you will probably make tons of mistakes, and native speakers will catch that very quickly. And they'll be like, yeah, sure, fine. No problems, okay? So it's not about speaking fast. What I'm saying is your reaction. Someone asks you a question or someone says something, your reaction will be too slow because you have to do all the process in your language, then translate it to English. Now, if I go into the technicality of the brain and how we process languages, translation happens, okay? But it's very fast, very, very, very fast. Someone like me, fluent like me, a teacher like me, we don't even notice because it's so fast. And all my conditioning is in English. So I don't have any problems with that. But to an English student who uses too much translation, okay? We already have this process of the brain that does translate, okay? But because all your habits, all your actions revolve around your native language when studying the English language, you will react very slowly. And if you want to react more quickly, you need to immerse in the English language. There's no other way, okay? Unfortunately, it is what it is. You can read more books, you can listen to more people, you can watch more movies. That's immersion, that's great. But when it comes to speaking, your reaction will only improve if your vocabulary practice is on point, and I'm going to talk about that. And eliminating translation is mandatory because you will be thinking too much in your language. You won't be fast enough. Oftentimes, students come to me and say, Priscilla, I feel so slow when I'm speaking the English language. What am I going to do? What can I do? What is wrong with me? Is there something wrong with my learning abilities? And then I start asking questions. Oh, how do you study vocabulary? How do you study grammar? Do you practice your English speaking? Oh, but I'm alone. Yeah, even alone. And then as I gather the answers, I show the student, look, your brain is perfect. But the way you use your brain, the way you study, that's where we need to work on. And what is going to happen if you keep using this? You will really lower your confidence level because you will have that terrible feeling that it's taking you forever and a day to say something very simple. Why? Because you're thinking. Oh, but what is the word? I could start speaking Portuguese now just to exemplify what is happening in your brain. Putz, mas eu uso do, aí, agora did. And the other person is like, and this could be in your mind. I could be doing this in my language, in my mind, but some people do it orally, which makes the situation even more complicated to understand. If there is one thing that I strongly recommend you work on is this. Never include your language during a conversation because that will confuse the listener. It will make the situation very awkward. When you include your mannerisms in the English language, expressions, short words, that makes it very difficult for the native speaker to understand you, okay? Teachers, we understand. So when a student comes to me and they are talking and they use some words in Spanish or they use some words in Italian, I can understand. But if it's an Asian student to me, I'm Priscilla, I'm from Brazil, I don't speak Chinese, I don't speak Japanese, I don't understand much. But if a student from Asia uses some words, some sounds that are confusing, I will be, can you say that again? And depending on where you are, if you have that reaction, you will lower your confidence because you will feel like, oh man, I didn't do a very good job. Anyway, my students, make sure to subscribe to my channel and if possible, share this lesson with someone who needs to understand this. And finally, eliminate translation from their lives. If you're interested, and this is very important, I have an amazing study plan cycle that will teach you how to organize your English study routine 100% in English so that you can have more productive results, change your actions, and have better results when it comes to your vocabulary, reading, listening, writing, and speaking. So check it out, link in the description. But let's keep rolling. How to stop translating. Idea number 1. I talked about this here on my channel, and I am here again. And for the rest of my life, I'm gonna be here, y'all. And it's paraphrasing. What is paraphrasing? It's to explain what you don't know. It's to describe what you don't know. Okay? That's basically that. I don't know how to say something. Let me pick something to describe that I don't know how to say in English. I know most things that I have here, so I look at the objects and I already know how to say them in English. That's annoying. Okay, so paraphrasing is to pick something I don't know how to say and I explain in English, of course. So let's say I don't know how to say this. You know, I know how to say this, but fine. Or let's pick a different one. I usually use the pencil sharpener. I don't know how to say my flash drive. Okay, you forgot your flash drive. I don't know how to say this in English. Okay, so I explain. Oh, so this is a gadget that you use to save your files, and you take them from the computer, you put them in this little thing, and then you can go somewhere else. And if you need to use a different computer, you can plug it in. And then you will see the files you saved in this little object. Okay? Very well. And that's paraphrasing. Okay? This will help you eliminate translation. But this is a work in progress. None of the ideas that I share in this channel will work after 1 day, 2 days. They will work with consistent work. Okay, so what are you going to do to get started? You're going to pick basic nouns, basic verbs, and basic adjectives and start explaining them in English. You have to start with easy words because if you pick very difficult words, that's going to be hard. Okay, how do you paraphrase let down? Man, you know, that's kind of hard. So you have to start with something easy. Okay, something simple. Oh, how do I describe this? Easy. How do I describe this? Okay, easy. How do I describe this? You know, easy words. And then as you're getting better, then you will include some phrasal verbs, some idioms, some advanced verbs, advanced adjectives, more abstract ideas. But that's gradual work, not like overnight, okay? Follow these recommendations for a minimum of 21 days to notice change, not perfection, okay? Unfortunately, for things to work, you need to do the work. Second idea, improve your vocabulary study routine. You need to change the way you study vocabulary, otherwise these problems will persist. So based on this idea, you need to ask yourself a few questions. How do you study vocabulary in English? What steps do you follow? What is your learning style? How do you check the words? Do you immediately look up the translation of a new word? Do you have an exercise routine with the new words you study? Do you create examples? Do you create a speaking practice? These are all things that I teach my students. Do you want to help your brain think in English? All right. So when you study the new words, you got to include an English process, especially a process that integrates all these skills. So it is vocabulary, but at the same time, it is writing, it is speaking, connecting with your life, memories, emotions. So do you want to be fast, react more quickly? Well, you got to ask yourself these questions and make the necessary changes. Is this easy? No. I'm sorry, it's not simple. It's not impossible, okay? It is time consuming. It will make you stop, analyze, creating examples. I know because I do this in English, I do this in Italian, it takes time. But it's much more efficient to help you study words and connect with the language 100% in English. And that's what I want for you. And are you going to memorize all the words you study by following this process? No, because our brains are not designed to memorize 100% of the information we study. Okay? That's very important. And finally, things only work if you do the work. You will not notice immediate change if you don't commit to this change long term. I do have a video recommendation. I'm going to leave the recommendation of this video here in the chat, okay? If you're watching the replay, turn on the chat so you can see, okay? And this video is a masterclass. It's here on my channel, by the way, free, okay? Free lesson to teach how to study vocabulary in English, which is something that I told you that's important to do if you want to eliminate translation. So it's how to learn and review words without translation. I know it's going to help you, especially if you really want to make this change, stop translating in your head and start thinking in English and improve your reaction time so that you can talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime. And if I could give you a recommendation, I would say get my study plan cycle, and if possible, which is even better, is to join my academy when I open registration, which is not open at the moment. But other than that, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, help me grow so that I can keep coming back for more. But other than that, I'll see you next time. Bye!